I never imagined my life would turn out like this. 5 years ago, I thought I'd made the safest, smartest choice of my life. When I married David, I wasn't looking for excitement, I was looking for stability. He was older, successful, grounded, the kind of man who promised security after years of heartbreak. For a while, it felt right. Our home was beautiful, our lives predictable. But over time, what I once called peace began to feel more like silence. Our conversations dwindled into checklists, bills, groceries, schedules. The spark between us faded into habit. He'd kiss me goodnight without looking up from his phone, and I'd lie awake beside him, wondering when love had turned into obligation. I told myself it was normal. That real relationships weren't meant to burn forever. That companionship was enough. Then Ethan moved in. David's son from his first marriage. 24, handsome, quiet, just out of a bad breakup and needing a place to stay until he got back on his feet. I didn't think much of it at first. To me, he was just my stepson. Another responsibility. Another reminder of the life David had before me. But something shifted. Ethan carried himself differently than I remembered. There was a calmness about him, a quiet confidence that somehow made the room feel smaller when he was in it. And yet, behind that strength, there was something broken, a kind of sadness in his eyes that mirrored my own. It started innocently enough. He helped me carry groceries in from the car, complimented my cooking, actually listened when I spoke. David hadn't done that in years. There was warmth in Ethan's tone that felt dangerous. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. But then, I started to notice the way his gaze lingered a little too long, or how his hand would brush mine and neither of us would move away. My heart began to race at the sound of his voice. I hated that it did, but I couldn't stop it. One evening, David left for a week-long business trip. The house felt unnervingly quiet. I was in the kitchen washing dishes when Ethan walked in, sleeves rolled up, offering to help. "You don't have to do that," I said. "I want to," he replied. His voice was calm but deep, and the space between us suddenly felt charged. His arm brushed mine. Just a small touch, but it sent a jolt through me that I couldn't explain. I should have stepped away. Instead, I froze. When I finally turned to face him, he was watching me, eyes searching mine as though waiting for permission to say what neither of us should. "I should get some sleep," I muttered. "Yeah," he said quietly, though he didn't move. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop replaying the moment. The look in his eyes. The warmth of his skin. The temptation I refused to name. A storm rolled in just after midnight. Rain tapped against the windows, thunder rumbling low in the distance. The power went out, leaving the house bathed in flickering candlelight. I poured a glass of wine, trying to calm the thoughts in my head, trying to pretend I wasn't waiting to hear his footsteps. I didn't hear him come in until he was sitting across from me on the couch, a blanket wrapped around his shoulders, hair damp from the humidity. "Storm knocked the power out," he said softly. "Guess we're stuck with candlelight." I smiled nervously. "Romantic," I joked, instantly regretting it. Ethan didn't laugh. His gaze lingered. "You seem different lately," he said. My heart skipped. "Different how?" "You just seem unhappy. You don't have to pretend with me." His words hit harder than I expected. I'd spent years pretending I was fine, pretending David and I were okay, pretending I wasn't aching for something real. "It's complicated," I finally whispered. Ethan leaned forward, eyes soft. "You deserve more." The air between us changed. My pulse quickened, my breath caught. He reached out slowly, fingers brushing mine. It was barely a touch, but it shattered every boundary I'd built. I should have pulled away. I didn't. When he whispered, "Tell me to stop," I couldn't. Because for the first time in years, I felt seen. His lips met mine, hesitant at first, then deeper, desperate. His hands found my waist, pulling me closer. The world outside disappeared. There was only the storm, the darkness, and us. When I finally pulled away, I could barely breathe. "I can't," I whispered. Ethan nodded, eyes full of something between regret and longing. "I know." I ran to my room, my heart pounding. I told myself it was a mistake, that it wouldn't happen again. But the truth, I didn't want it to stop. The next morning was unbearable. I avoided him, busying myself with meaningless chores. But every time I passed him, the air thickened with tension. Every glance, every breath reminded me of what we'd done and what I still wanted. By noon, I was back in the kitchen when Ethan walked in behind me. "Are we going to pretend last night didn't happen?" he asked quietly. "It shouldn't have," I said, turning to face him. "But it did." He stepped closer, voice low. "I don't regret it." My chest tightened. His hand brushed against my arm, slow and deliberate. I didn't move. When he kissed me this time, there was no hesitation. No pretending. Only raw, dangerous need. Days turned into weeks, and we lived in the space between fear and desire. Stolen moments when David wasn't home. A glance that lasted too long at dinner. Fingers brushing under the table when no one was watching. The secrecy made it addictive. But the guilt was suffocating. David started to notice. His tone grew colder. His eyes lingered on me, suspicious. Still, I told myself we were careful. Until the night everything fell apart. David came home early. I was in the kitchen, Ethan standing close beside me, our hands touching as I handed him a glass. Just a touch, but enough. When I turned, David was standing in the doorway. Silent. Watching. His voice was calm, too calm. "How long?" My throat tightened. There was no point denying it. The truth was written all over our faces. David let out a bitter laugh. "I should have seen it. The way you looked at each other." I reached for him, but he stepped back, eyes full of betrayal. Then he turned to Ethan. "You were my son." Ethan swallowed hard. "I never wanted to hurt you." David shook his head, laughter hollow. "Well, you did." He packed his bags that night. A week later, the divorce papers came. I signed them without reading. Ethan left soon after. Said it was better that way. That we couldn't rebuild on the ruins of what we'd destroyed. And maybe he was right. Now the house is quiet again, empty, cold. The storm outside long gone, but its echo still lives in me. Passion had been easy. Desire effortless. But the consequences? Permanent. And every time I hear thunder, I remember that night, the night everything changed, and I realize that sometimes, the thing you think will save you, can be the very thing that destroys you.